We start this morning in coal country with West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin. He joins us from Charleston. Good to have you on the program.
Good to be with you, Margaret.
Senator, you've been very supportive of President Trump's trade war. Given the worries that we're seeing emerge this week and the president's decision to pull back on some tariffs related to consumers, are you having second thoughts?
Well, no, I've been very hawkish on China because China does, their intent is not for America to succeed or do well. With that being said, the way they've been able to have their economic might and also their military might has been through espionage. So we have to be very careful of that. We have to be very much aware of that. So I think there's a time for correction, and this is it. Now, with that being said, I would say we should be strengthening our ties with all of our allies and bringing on more allies that we can do good trade with, honest, fair trade, competitive trade, but not unfair trade, such as been doing with China for far too long.
So in terms of your concerns about an economic slowdown, it sounds like you don't see one happening, but you did mention espionage there. You've been raising concerns about Chinese investment in your home state. What exactly is happening here? What are you trying to put the brakes on?
Well, it's not the brakes. I encourage investments. I want your capital investment made in my state. We welcome any country who wants to come make investments. But just to take our raw material out, such as our ethane, propane, and butanes for building stocks, manufacturing stocks, and export every bit of that, that leaves us with nothing and no building blocks for us to have a re-emergence of manufacturing base. I think that's wrong. And the only thing I said is reciprocating. We should be reciprocating with countries that basically reciprocate with us. Go over to China and try to use their resources and bring them to America. Do any of that other than manufacture goods they want to sell to us, but their resources or their grid system or any of that is off limits. Why should we give them an entree to ours, which basically makes it extremely hard for us, extremely hard.
I want to ask you about gun control. You've been trying since back in 2013 to get this bill that would tighten background checks, the bill known as Manchin 2 passed. You've spoken to the president this time. Will he go out there and twist arms to get Republicans on board with this bill?
Well, when I drafted that bill in 2013 and then Pat came on as my partner and we worked that bill, it was basically around law-abiding gun owners. Law-abiding gun owners will do the right thing. But when it comes to background checks, if you go to a commercial transaction, such as at a gun show, internet, or any other, where you don't know the person, common sense or gun sense should tell you should have a background check. President Trump has a golden opportunity, truly a golden opportunity, to start making America safe again. Make America safe again by starting with this basic building block of background checks.
But has the president agreed to go out there and get the Republican caucus to support this bill? There's no promise it's going to be voted on anytime soon.
Right. Well, let me just say this. It's been very encouraging with the dialogue going back and forth and all the people meeting and all of the staffs working together trying to find a pathway forward. I can't tell you the end result. I can't tell you what the final product will be, but we're working in a most common sense procedure of what we can get the votes for to do something that truly starts making America safe again. And we have a responsibility. People are afraid to go out in communities or let their children go to different types of things that would be a gathering of more than a couple people, and they're concerned about this, and we shouldn't be living in fear in America. America should be safe, and we can do that.
Well, we had the Republican whip from the House, Steve Scalise, on this program just last week, and he said, we have the tools we need. There were background checks already passed, fixed NICS as it's called, and what you're proposing, he wasn't championing. He was basically saying, it's already been done, you just got to implement it better.
I just respectfully disagree with Steve. I like him. He's a good person. We just had disagreements on this, and we can do more. I come from a gun culture. I'm a gun owner. No one's going to take my guns away. I'm going to protect the Second Amendment. I'm a law-abiding gun owner. I'll do the right thing, but I can tell you if I go to a gun show, if I go on the internet and somebody wants to buy my gun, and I don't know who they are, I've been taught not to sell my gun to a stranger, to someone that has criminal background, someone that's not mentally stable. These are things that we're going to make those decisions. But when you don't know somebody, don't you think you can at least come to that agreement, that makes sense? And there's so many other good things that have been brought to the table. You know, the red flag bill that Lindsey Graham and a lot of us are working on makes sense, that if we can identify and get somebody help before they do something, some horrible tragedy should be done. And we have the ability to do these things that really make sense.
But no promise to you personally by President Trump that this is the bill he wants to see pass?
There's no promise on any of this right now. It's just open, but we have good dialogue. We haven't had this before. We're working. We have working groups together.
Okay.
And he says he's very encouraged. He wants something to happen. And I'm saying, President Trump, this is yours. It doesn't happen unless you stand up and you have a bill that you basically support, and this is your piece of legislation. And it should be a gun sense bill that makes sense to all gun owners.
Well, the only way legislation gets passed is if senators are here in Washington working on it. There's some questions about whether you're staying or going back to West Virginia to run for governor. Are you going to stay and fight?
Well, I'm going to be fighting, that's for sure. No matter what happens, I'm going to be here fighting. That's for darn sure. But right
here
now,
in
I'll
Washington.
make a decision. I'll make a decision, basically, right after Labor Day here. I will make a decision, and I will announce to the people in West Virginia. I've had a lot of inquiries. They want me to come back home. I have people who think that maybe I should stay, and I've had it both ways. We're looking at it, and I want to do what I can to help my state of West Virginia. It's always been about West Virginia for me.
Last time we spoke with you, you'd just gotten back from a trip to the Arctic. You went to Greenland. I'm wondering what you think about this idea of acquiring it.
Well, Greenland's a cold place, but it's melting. We saw the effects of global climate changes. Changes are happening, and the people up there understand that, and they're trying to adjust to it. We have a very strategic base up there, a military base, which we visited, and I understand the strategic logic for that in that part of the world, and the Arctic opening up the way it is now. So that was a very interesting proposal that was thrown out, but we haven't heard much about it. I'm on Armed Services, and we should be getting a secured briefing pretty soon on that.
On purchasing Greenland?
Well, if that's the intent, if it has any merit to it, we'll hear about it. I haven't heard that. I just heard basically what's been reported on the news.
All right. Senator, we'll stay tuned for that decision after Labor Day. Thank you very much.
Okay, Margaret, thank you. Bye-bye.